Hi everybody, my name is Dennis and welcome back to another video where we're actually doing something a bit different today. We're not going to be reviewing anything, not going to be talking about any actual music, to be honest. I'm just going to be talking about the XXL freshman list of this year. I know it's been about 3 weeks since it got released. I'm a bit late to the party, but I'd still like to talk about it because I was thinking about making a video about the current freestyles that have been released from them, but I decided I'd better just wait until all of them get released. But I still want to do something involving the current freshman list, and I figured I might as well just talk about them some. Now, granted, it's not a perfect list by any means, but you can look at all of the lists just on Wikipedia. I actually just have that off to the side right here. None of the lists are perfect. I think every single list has at least a couple of duds on there. Granted, some lists are much better than others. I mean, we have some great lists on here, like 2010. 2010 was a beautiful freshman list. Then we also got some really, really weak lists. Like, I think 2015 was especially weak. Very few really noticeable artists there other than, say, Goldlink and Vince Staples and Fetty Wap. And even then, these three artists, probably aside from Fetty Wap, none of them have really made that big of an impact. Vince Staples is probably my favorite of the grouping there, but just nothing all that outgoing, nothing all that revolutionary from the list. And really, that's the main thing you got to look for in these freshman lists. Are these the groundbreaking, forward-pushing next step in hip-hop? And for a lot of these lists, the answer is definitely no. And even though a couple of them do have some big artists on there, it oftentimes just isn't quite what we're looking for. Like, I'll give you an example. 2009 had Kid Cudi on there. Kid Cudi, revolutionary artist, pushed the boundaries of hip-hop, really did push things forward a lot. But then if you look at all the other people from the 2009 list, very few of them had even made a significant impact in mainstream hip-hop. You could probably argue for Wale or B.O.B., but really other than them, and even they're debatable at best in my opinion, just nothing of interest. So a lot of times XXL just doesn't hit the mark, and a lot of times I do think that has to do with people refusing to show up on the list, especially with this year's. There have been rumors of Juice WRLD just refusing to be on the list because he would have been a perfect candidate for the freshman list, but unfortunately he just didn't make it on there. There were a couple others here and there, like Polo G. I know a lot of people wanted him on there, and I think he would have been a nice addition. He didn't really stand out to me all that much from what I've heard from him so far, and granted, I have not gone through the entire discography of any of these artists. I just gotta put that out there up front. I've not gone through every single song put out by all of these artists. I only have so much time, patience, and energy when it comes to this kind of stuff, so I kind of just have what my prior knowledge of them, which for some is more, for some is less, but anyways, let's get into the current list. So, I'm just going to talk about them each individually and whether I really thought they deserved to be on the list and why or why not. Starting off with Comethazine. Definitely. He definitely earned his spot on the list. He had that huge song, Walk, which I actually think isn't a bad song. He just released a mixtape this year, which I'll be honest, I didn't listen to. I heard mixed things about it. I'm not a huge fan of him as an artist, but he definitely has a unique voice, and I think he has a style that could really propel him forward. I could also see him just being a one-hit wonder with Walk and dropping off, but I do think he was a solid choice. He's definitely an up-and-coming talent that I think could do something really great. So I do think he was a very smart choice for this list. Next, Tierra Whack. Probably my personal favorite artist from this list, if I'm being completely honest. Tierra Whack, I was so grateful when I read that she made this list, because she deserves it more than, I guess not more than anyone on here, but she just deserves it so much. She is a phenomenal lyricist. She is an amazing artist. She has a wonderful ear for instrumentals and beats, and she has a really snappy flow that really does have some aggression to it, but she could also switch it up to this really smooth, beautiful, elegant style that really does suit her really well. She's an extremely talented artist that I think is really going to make waves. I just hope that she gets a bit bigger. She is not underground by any means. There's a reason she made the list, but she definitely is on the lower key end of the artists on here, I would say, but I do think she deserves a lot more recognition for her talent. Next person on we have DaBaby. To me, he's just kind of your typical in and out popular rapper. I don't really see the purpose of putting him on this list. To me, he was definitely one of the weaker artists on here. I think his vocals are pretty drab and uninteresting oftentimes. His flow is decent, but nothing all that memorable. He just isn't all that fun of an artist. Granted, he does have a unique sound when compared to a lot of the other artists on here, which I do think is good. It gives some more diversity to the list, but he just isn't that interesting of an artist, and I really don't see him pushing hip-hop forward, and I really don't see him being all that relevant within the next couple of years. I mean, granted, I could be wrong about any of these people, but DaBaby just really doesn't seem like he's going to be doing anything great in the future to me. To me, he's kind of just going to drop off. He might still make music, and he probably will still make music, and he'll probably still have a dedicated fan base, but I just don't see him being huge in the future, especially with his style. Lil Mozi. Lil Mozi was probably, I guess, not one of the more questionable ones, because he does have a few big songs, but he definitely would not have been my first choice on here. I don't think he's all that bad of an artist. I think he has a nice voice, and he does have some catchy beats. Again, he just kind of seems like a throwaway artist, where he doesn't do anything all that original or all that interesting. He's just kind of your kind of typical upbeat, kind of happy rap style, where, I mean, it's fine. It's just not all that intriguing. He's not all that boundary pushing by any means. I don't think he was a horrible choice, and I definitely understand why they put him on here. So, unlike someone like, I don't know, we'll get into some of the others later that I really think shouldn't have been put on here, but like Lil Mozi and DaBaby are kind of in the same space for me of, they have big songs, they have big hits. I understand why they're on the list, but they just don't seem like either of them would be all that boundary pushing or forward thinking enough to really make an impact on hip hop. Next up, we got Rowdy Rich. Now, Rowdy Rich, I was kind of surprised to see on the list. I think he's actually a fine artist. He's pretty standard as far as the popular scheme of rap goes. He's not all that boundary pushing again, but he is a talented artist, I have to say. He has a really good flow to him. He has a nice voice that really feels like it's suited for hip-hop, and I think that he has talent. He's nothing all that incredible in my opinion. He's definitely not one of my go-to artists, but I do think he has talent, and he has potential to bring that significantly better. Again, this is an artist that I could see dropping off probably quicker than most of the other people on here, but I think he's a talented artist, and I think he was a welcome surprise on the list. YBN Cordae, another beautifully amazing, great pick for this list. He is a phenomenal lyricist. He is an amazingly talented rapper. He is just so well put together. He does have his weak songs, I have to be honest, but he's an extremely talented artist. He's still very fresh in the rap game. I can definitely see this man improving. I can definitely see him doing things that are unique, continually pushing things outside of his comfort zone, and he seems like just the perfect fit for the XXL list. He is not one of the biggest artists on here, but he definitely has a very large fan base, and I do think that this is going to support him really well. I could definitely see him being probably one of the biggest artists from this list going into the years in the future. I could definitely see him making some really phenomenal music. Next we have YK Osiris, who is I'd say he's probably the worst pick of the list, if I'm being completely honest. I really just don't see why he was put on here. To me, he doesn't even seem like a rapper. He seems more like a guy who just sings over trap beats. And granted, we have had some more sing-songy style of rapping in the past. I mean, Kyle was on the 2017 list, but granted, at least someone like Kyle still raps. He still has a flow to him. He still has a rap style. And I just don't get that from YK Osiris. To me, he just seems like an R&B singer. I don't know why he was put on this list, and he just seems like a one-hit wonder to me. I don't see this man doing anything interesting or worthwhile in the future. He could prove me wrong, but he just seems like a really bland and uninteresting artist whose big hit really isn't even all that great. Easily the worst pick on the list. I think there were plenty of better options they could have gone for. Next we have Rico Nasty, who is another really welcome surprise on here. Rico Nasty is extremely talented. She has this great aggressiveness to her, this just pure anger and wrath in her voice that just suits her so well to these heavy-hitting, just shocking, pounding, aggressive banger songs. She's an extremely amazing rapper. Granted, I don't love everything she's done. I do think she's improved a lot, and I can only see her really improving from here, but she is just such a talented individual, and I was so happy to see her on here. I hope this gives her a bit more recognition, because she really does deserve it. She is a phenomenal artist, and she was an amazing pick for this list. Moving on from there, we have Gunna. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, you will know I am not a fan of Gunna in the slightest. In fact, I would go as far as to say he's probably my least favorite artist of the list. However, I do think he deserves to be on the list. And this is because he has been really big for a considerable amount of time. And I definitely would not be surprised to see him continuing to hold this status in the near future. He may not be one of the greats, he may not go down in the history books, but he definitely has enough of a following and has been prominent enough for long enough time that I do think he deserves to be on the list. Again, I really just don't like him. I find him to be just a knockoff of much better artists. And when I say much better, that really doesn't even mean that good. I mean, he sounds like a knockoff Young Thug. And Young Thug really isn't even all that amazing in my opinion. Gunna just really does nothing of interest to me. He's very bland, he's very boring, and I really just can't stomach his music if I'm being honest. However, again, he is very popular. He has had this following for a significant amount of time, and I can definitely see this popularity continuing for longer than many of the other artists on here, so he definitely deserved to be on this list. Next artist is kind of in a similar boat with me, is Blueface. Now, I do think Blueface definitely has more going for him than Gunna does. I do think Blueface has a kind of interestingly silly flow and voice. I do think the gimmick of him rapping offbeat horribly has gotten very stale very quickly, and it has gotten kind of irritating at points, if I'm being completely honest. But again, he's a very big artist right now, and even though that may be for memes purposes, he is huge right now. He definitely deserves to be on this list. He's definitely earned that spot. Even if I don't really think he deserves that popularity, he definitely deserves to be on this list because of it. And the last artist to talk about is Megan Thee Stallion. She is, again, just a beautifully suit pick for this list. Megan Thee Stallion, I'll be honest, I did not listen to her album that was released not too long ago, really. I heard generally good things about it, and what I have heard from her, a couple of songs off of that album, I actually didn't think were that bad. She doesn't seem like all that outgoing of an artist in the sense of pushing boundaries again, revolutionizing hip-hop, but I do think she's very talented. She has a nice flow, she's very catchy, I like her, she can switch up her voice in really interesting ways at points, and I do think she's very talented, and she is very new to the rap game, relatively speaking, and I do think that she has a lot of potential to become a very big success in the mainstream. So, I mean, overall, I thought this list was actually pretty good. Again, there were some artists on here that I really didn't think were all that great for it, but really the only one I felt truly did not deserve his spot on here was YK Osiris. So really, this was a pretty good list overall. was surprised with a lot of the artists on here, and most of them were pleasant surprises. So, I mean, with all that being said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the freshman list this year. Be sure to tell me how wrong my opinion is, as always. And I'll see you in the next review. And be sure to check out when I talk about all the freestyles once they're all out.